Hi, my name is Miles Coney, and welcome to Quarantine Chronicles, and welcome to another episode. And we have our guest speaker today, Deaton Gabbard.
Thanks for having me, Miles. I'm excited.
So today I'm going to be asking Deaton, what has he been doing during the quarantine? And I bet you have a long story to tell about quarantine, do you?
Oh yeah, it definitely affects actors more so than I think even like regular workers, just because there's really no jobs right now. I mean, they're starting to slowly pick back up, but for about 5 or 6 months, there were no jobs. I mean, I don't think this has happened since probably like the writer's strike.
What do you do for a living? And talk about your background.
So prior to quarantine, I would say that I was what's considered a working actor because I was working more with them than I was with a regular like 9 to 5 job. Now, because everything's slowed down so much, I kind of have to say that I am a server. I serve at an Outback here in Richmond, and for a while there, I was doing kind of regular jobs that was making good money, but it started to make it harder to schedule around like acting jobs. So I finally decided to kind of get rid of the 9 to 5, the safe route, and start doing the actor's job and start serving at a restaurant. So yeah, I've been doing that for about a year now.
How has the COVID pandemic affected you in your day-to-day life?
So I mean, even before my day-to-day life, me and my friends, 3 other friends that I've worked with on several projects, were actually planning on moving to LA before all this COVID happened. I mean, we were talking about it for probably a year and a half. We had just about narrowed down the apartments, and then COVID happened. And we gave it like a month, but then we eventually had to be like, okay, I think we need to wait till everything gets normal. Like, when will the normal happen? So that was a huge impact because, I mean, that was going to be a game changer in my mind. I mean, moving from a smaller market of like the Southeast market for all these auditions and stuff, and then going to Hollywood almost directly. But as far as day-to-day life goes, I mean, there's less auditions now. There's a lot less motivation. I've talked to a lot of actors that kind of have lost their drive just because there's not really any projects going around. So like the biggest thing, I know this is a question later on, I'm pretty sure, but the biggest thing that I've had to kind of do is just kind of figure out ways to stay sane and creative, you know. I've actually gotten back into script writing. I'm working on a movie that I had an idea for like probably about 4 or 5 years ago that I never really actually pulled out and started to establish. So I've been really working on that, and that's kind of keeping my sanity during all this, you know.
What is something good that has come out of this situation?
So honestly, I always like to look at the optimistic side of things. And even though we didn't get to go to LA, it was a really good opportunity to take a break, kind of reevaluate what I'm doing as an actor, because of the stimulus check that we received. I actually used a lot of that to kind of get more training, to get more of a foundation under my belt. And it's really just given me another, just more ways of looking at acting, more ways of looking at scripts and breaking it down quicker, memorization, things like that, that I wouldn't have had the time to do. You know, I mean, it's terrible to say it, but I mean, I'm one of those people that's a workaholic. Like, I am constantly busy. I am always looking for projects. Like, I don't like sitting still. For me, like when quarantine happened, video games got boring after like a week. I got to quit playing them. And then I started watching a bunch of movies and got tired of watching movies. So like I always had to again find something that was keeping me creative and keeping me consistent, I guess.
What is something bad or something you don't like about the situation?
I mean, it goes on with the last answer. I really don't like having to, stay at home, having to do like the normal 9 to 5 job, and there's nothing that can be helped. I mean, I have been on a few that sets that were COVID-19 protected. Like we made sure we wore masks, we had like hand sanitizer everywhere. Everyone had to fill out like release forms, like health release forms. We had a thermometer on set, all that stuff. But as far as like bigger sets and stuff, it's way too soon. And this is evidenced by the Batman being delayed again because Robert Pattinson got COVID.
Yeah.
Which I mean, not a surprise because his mask covers the wrong thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, I think that was a huge wake-up call to the industry, that we need to kind of slow down. And as much as like everyone wants to go ahead and do these indie film projects, wants to do all this stuff, we do need to wait until something is more certain. Because I mean, it seems like there's new information out there every day. But yeah, the biggest problem that I have is that I thrive off of like creative energy, and that's why I kind of went back into screenwriting, is because I just needed something to focus on. And without being on set, you know, being around all my friends, being around meeting people, networking, I mean, it's tough.
What is the first thing you want to do when this is over?
Travel for sure. So me and my friend Brandon, who I've worked with a lot of stuff, we actually took advantage of like the super cheap tickets, the plane tickets, and we went to New York when it was in stage, I think it was 3 or 4. We only went for like 2 or 3 days just to network with some friends that we were in these acting classes with. But I miss traveling, man. I loved it. Like I've been to Jamaica, Mexico.
Oh,
Planning on probably the next trip will be out to LA once it's obviously more settled down and figures out what it needs to do. But I mean, pilot season technically is coming up here in like January, February, maybe depending on how, you know, how all this goes. So
mhm.
I'm planning on traveling a lot more for sure.
What is a thing you have learned about yourself that you're working on changing to be better when this is over?
I think the biggest thing that I learned about myself was I'm not a fan of scheduling. Like I don't like when people, you know, schedule out an entire day, like, hey, we need to do this from 9 to 10, we need to do this from 11 to 12. But I have noticed that I do need some sort of routine. So
Mm.
like the biggest thing that I have been doing that I never was really consistent with is working out. And I started like this V-Shred workout program. It's like a 90-day workout program. And it's one of those things that's really helped like my mental and physical um, like just capability, I guess, because I have this routine of, okay, I have got to go to the gym for an hour. And
Mm.
that's where I can kind of relieve all the stress of like not having auditions, not booking auditions, you know, all this stuff. And it also is going to help make me more of like a competitive actor, you know, because I mean, let's face it, but acting is the only job that you can literally not get booked off of your looks. So
Mm.
it doesn't hurt.
All right. So, do you have any last words for the audience?
Honestly, my last words would just be mental. Your mental capability is no joke. Like find something that you can focus on, especially during this quarantine. I know a lot of people are going in and out of depression. I have a minor in psychology, so my biggest thing is just take that stuff seriously. Like if you need a day, take a day. If you need time, if you need to reach out to someone, then reach out to someone. It can be your friends, it can be a specialist, but just be aware of it. That's all I would say.
So, do you have any social media that you want to shout out?
Yeah, so I used to add a lot of people on my Facebook, but that's starting to get kind of more how I want it as my friends and family. But I do have an acting page that's Deaton Gabbard and then the dash actor that you can follow. I've also got a production company called Cobra Pit Productions, and we've been posting quite a bit there. And me and my friend, the Brandon that I was talking about earlier, we actually did a pilot during all this,
Mm.
and that's called The Real Road to Hollywood. There's a group that we're really trying to get a lot of members before we start releasing stuff, because we want to show that this is something that people want to see, because especially with all this quarantine, like the big Hollywood productions are all canceled, so there's going to be streaming networks that are starving for content. So if we can show that, hey, people really want this show, and it's a really good community anyway. I mean, like we ask questions, we post like behind the scenes stuff that you won't see anywhere else. So if you look up The Real Road to Hollywood Fans and join that group, then you'll get all the content from that.
Thank you guys for watching Quarantine Chronicles. I want you guys to do is make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me what you thought of this video. And thank you for our guest speaker, Deaton Gabbard, for being a part of this. And
Great.
Instant Human Entertainment out.